Hello, everyone, and welcome back to perhaps the best episode of Sports at Night yet. But hey, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. As always, I'm your host, Todd Knight, and joining me is Will Michael Strahan and Javon Superman Miller. Guys,
I'm back.
you know it, baby.
Yeah.
There were some amazing performances in the NFL on opening weekend, and I want to toss out some game balls to those who stood out the most. Javon, give it to me, man.
You know in my
Which player
locker,
stood out the most last week?
You know in my locker room who's gonna get the game ball? It's gonna be Trevor Siemian, baby. He gotta get the game ball, man. He went against one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and he still threw for. Hey, let me make sure I'm right. He still threw for 219 yards, 17 of 28. He had 2 TDs plus a rushing TD. Man, how can he not get my game ball?
I love your specificity there.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man, how can he not, man? That was a very tough San Diego team. They did not go out. They made the comeback in the fourth quarter. They would not stay down, man. Our defense looked beautiful, and the question mark was our offense. It never was the defense. Everybody figured our defense would come out and play great, and they did. But the offense was the question mark. He answered that. And guess what? He did not use our best receivers either. He didn't use Demaryius Thomas so much. He did not use Emmanuel Sanders so much. He used Benny Fowler. He used our big tight end, Virgil Green. I mean, he used the players that you would have thought maybe he would shy away from and try to go for the superstars, but he did not.
Yes, my fantasy team reflected that.
Yeah. Yes, indeed, man.
Demaryius Thomas hurt me.
Trevor, you get my game ball, baby. If you watching this show, man, got love for you, baby. Keep us winning.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Trevor definitely deserves some love for what the way he played.
Yes, he did, man.
That night against San Diego.
It was times when
Los Angeles Chargers. That's going to take some getting used
Los
to.
Angeles, sorry, y'all.
We're probably going to do that again
It was times
for a long
no
time.
doubt. That is a tough one to get used to.
Yeah.
It is, man. It was times when he looked flawless, though, man. Like, it was times when he was just throwing the ball and getting the ball down the field. He looked like he couldn't make a bad play, you know.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Will, who you got, man?
All right, I'm going to go with the trenches. You know, everybody likes the flashy quarterback receiver position, but me as a big man, I love battles in the trenches. And I don't think anybody looked more impressive than the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line.
You know it. Saxonville.
10 sacks.
Yes.
10 sacks.
Yep.
Man, and I got to go with Calais Campbell as gets my game ball.
Hell of a free agency pickup from Arizona who sorely missed him last week.
Right.
Good job.
And I think he had something to prove. You know, he's over 30, and Arizona made some calls on personnel that, you know, many people wouldn't agree with. They let Tony Jefferson walk to Baltimore. Baltimore pitched a shutout, and they let Calais Campbell walk to Jacksonville. He broke the Jacksonville Jaguars sack record in his first ever game in a uniform in the regular season. I mean, the Texans' offensive line, well, I'm not going to pretend that they're any good, but 4 sacks is 4 sacks. Four sacks.
Yeah.
He had 7 sacks all of last year for the Arizona defense.
He's almost he's more than reached half of this total from the previous season.
And last
it only
year,
took one game to do it.
Last year, he was playing with Robert Golden and Chandler Jones at the end. So, I mean, he did it with Dante Fowler and Malik Jackson.
And I was just about to bring up Malik.
who they stole from the Broncos.
Dude, they stole from us,
Right.
but it's a good steal because he's the one that get that pressure up the middle, which allows him to get around them corners and get those sacks, baby.
Right.
Yeah,
And the secondary played well. Jalen Ramsey looked like a future stud. Miles Jack looks like his injuries behind him. It was just an all-out good showing from a team that needs a good defense because their quarterback situation is highly questionable.
Man.
Highly questionable.
Yeah, they totally dominated that game in spite of the quarterback play. And usually you don't say that with how much the passing game is so critical to the way the game is played now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stick on the passing game aspect of it.
Here we go.
What? And you're not gonna like this.
I know.
But I have to throw this in here, man.
Oh, here we go, man.
Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Alex Smith was absolutely smoking against the New England Patriots last Thursday night. I know that feels like it's been forever ago, and there's a stress ball. It's really kicking into high gear right now.
I knew it was coming.
But Mahomes that may have been the best thing that could have happened to Alex Smith, because if you look back at his history, whenever they drafted Colin Kaepernick in the second round,
Yeah.
Alex Smith completely turned his career around in San Francisco.
Right.
And it looks like the same. Granted, it's just one game, but it looks like the same thing could happen again. History could be repeating itself. All right, with the future heir apparent.
Yeah.
Sitting right here behind
Right
him.
behind him, yeah.
There's a very, very good possibility that'll happen. But Alex had over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
I mean, he straight balled out there.
We talking
He
about
looked
a game
like
manager.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
But he didn't look so much like a game manager
No,
that night. I
not
mean,
at
he
all.
was damn impressive.
I still stand by my statement that the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl if Alex Smith would have been playing quarterback.
Well, I also still stand by my statement that Kansas City going to still suck by the end of the season. Okay.
They did suffer a huge injury, which
Yeah,
made
with Eric
damn
Berry.
them in the
Yes.
end.
That was
Yes.
rough. Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
But
you
they
hate to
did-
see that.
But Kansas City did make a hell of a first impression
Yes, they
that
did.
first
They
week.
did.
Yes, they did.
And that's
Yes,
something
they
else
did.
that I want to talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about these individuals who had, just great performances, and that only reveals, part of the story.
Yes.
But there were some teams that really jumped out and surprised their respective fan bases as well.
I agree.
As well as the so-called experts. That it goes for us as well. And speaking of which, I'm just going to start with the Lions. They're my impressive team that I'm starting with right now. They beat the Arizona Cardinals 35-23. It was close through 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden Detroit hit that flip switch. 9 of their last 10 games that they have won have been fourth quarter comebacks. That's in the 90% rate. That's insane.
Okay.
Detroit represent the 313.
Todd,
Yes.
your wife would not be any motivation for this pick, would it?
Not in the least.
Okay.
I sat there and watched that game very proudly.
Yes. I just wanted to add that in there, man. Because what's going on, girl? What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, the pass rush was very, very, very impressive. It got good pressure on Carson Palmer throughout the afternoon.
Yes, sir.
And that really kind of led to him. They forced 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, Detroit struggled to create turnovers all season last year. So they have gotten off to a start that suggests that they could be one of those more opportunistic defenses. And Stafford, mind you, I'm just glad he got that pick 6 out of the way early after signing that massive contract. But credit to Matt Stafford, he did not panic. He didn't seem overwhelmed or anything like that. Totally kept the composure. And he lit up one of the best secondaries that there is in football with Patrick Peterson,
Tyrann
Matthew.
yeah.
I mean,
the LSU products.
Yeah, that secondary is still loaded, and he ripped them apart for 4 touchdowns.
And he's a gunslinger. He knows he's going to throw at least a pick. That's okay. You know what I mean? He goes downfield. You can't go downfield without at least making 1 pick.
Yeah.
And then filling out everything. And then he did great after
No
that.
doubt.
You're right, yeah.
No doubt. And the Lions greatly altered what the Arizona Cardinals' fate could be by David Johnson, who was being contained all afternoon.
Right.
But him suffering that dislocated wrist, him being out for 2 to 3 months, Arizona's got a tough climb back.
Yeah, I
on
gotta
that
say, if you're a Cardinals fan, the panic meter is pretty high right now.
one. For sure.
You better believe that.
Yep. Javon, tell me what you got.
Well, I got to stick with what Strahan said. Trahan said, baby, I'm going with the Jaguars. To me, they had the best first impression on me, man. He gave all the stats, and they whooped them boys, 29-7? Everybody thought that Houston was going to come out after everything that happened to the city. They was going to come out and ball out, man. That J.J. Watt was going to have this amazing game, and that they were just going to destroy Jacksonville.
The highlight of their entire game was the opening kickoff ceremony.
Exactly.
From there, it was all downhill. J.J.
from
Watt
there.
said it himself, basically.
Yeah, it was all downhill. Jacksonville showed them what was up, man. They said, hey, look, we are a contender. You know what I mean? And Jacksonville always have had a good defense, but they never been able to quite mesh it properly.
They haven't learned how to win
Right.
games.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
They've had
been
moments where
losing.
they've been really good, but they've never figured out how to close a game out.
So how much of that do you think is Tom Coughlin bringing his nature and his game over as president of football operations.
It's just one game, but I think that does have a lot to do with it.
Oh, man,
Javon, continue, man.
We all know, man, that Coughlin is the man, especially if you're a Giants fan.
Absolutely.
You know that Coughlin can put together a Super Bowl winning team.
In Coughlin, we trusted.
Yeah. I love Coughlin, man. Listen, Jacksonville, I really can't stand you because you are in the AFC. So, I can't show you much love, but I'm showing you some love today because I love good defenses, baby. You know I do, So, good job, man.
All right.
And have we ever seen a more impressive debut from an LSU rookie than Leonard Fournette dropping 100 yards on the number one defense from last year?
You got to be kidding
That
me.
is a good point to
And
make.
that offensive line looked like they could hold their own, which is something Jacksonville hasn't had in years.
I don't mean to drag this out, but I've always said Fournette was going to be a good NFL player. You know what I mean? He showed
there's a lot of people that have felt like that. But the thing is, there's a lot of people that there's some scouts that kind of felt like he was coming in overweight and everything else. And
he's a big man, man.
That's
what he's
a
big
thumper.
power runner.
He's a
man.
thumper.
That's
He's a 3 down, every down back.
But where he's so unique is the fact that he has tremendous size and tremendous speed as well.
Yeah.
Most players do not have the size speed ratio that Leonard Fournette possesses.
Yeah.
And he has, if he stays healthy, he has the potential to be an absolute stud for years to come, whether he's in Jacksonville or one of the other 31 teams.
He's not that chunky thing that was over there in Green Bay, right?
No, thank God.
I don't know who you're talking about.
You don't know who I'm talking about?
No.
That chunky
Fat
running-
Lacy?
I don't
Fat
know
Lacy.
Eddie
Yeah,
Fat Lacy.
I
that
don't know
chunky
Eddie
running
Lacy.
back that can't seem to catch his breath. But yeah. So
Send him running to a fast food restaurant. He'll catch his breath then.
Yeah, he loves that McDonald's.
Yeah.
Hey Lacey, please don't beat us up when you see us, brother, man. Don't hurt us, man. We're just podcast
Well,
guys,
he would have
man.
to catch us first. But anyway, Will, I want to hear what you got to say, man.
My first impression of the Green Bay Packers is that they are who we thought they were.
Yes, they are.
They are clutch. Their defense looks vastly improved from last year. I mean, Clay Matthews is Clay Matthews. He's going to fly around. He's going to make plays. I think he's playing out of position. He's a pass rusher playing middle linebacker and doing it at a very serviceable rate. But he's the heart of that defense. They've had so much turnover in the secondary. I mean, they drafted so many young corners. I think they have like Quentin Rollins and Clinton Dix and all those guys who are all very young. And Clay Matthews is that steadfast, steady spirit in the middle. And Mike Neal, man, that guy, he's been around for a long time, and not many people know his name, but God, he looked good against the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks' offensive line was bad, and there's no covering that up. They're not as bad as the Giants, but they are pretty terrible. And watching Aaron Rodgers hang with that defense, and it was like watching a boxing match. It was like body punch here, body punch there, and then it was tied 3-3 at half.
You can see the accumulated
Yes, and you
effects
could
at that
see
point.
No,
Rodgers.
it was 3-0 at half, actually, wasn't it?
3-0,
Yeah,
that's right.
3-0
3-0 at half.
They scored first.
And you could just see Rodgers take over that game in the
Yes,
second
he
half.
did, man.
He's done what he's done forever, and
Yeah.
I continue to say he is the most talented quarterback, and I'm only 23 years old, so I haven't seen that much football, but I've ever seen in my life. He's just everything that he does, his arm, his
As far as raw talent, I give you that for sure.
and he's so athletic. So athletic. And I thought that Sheldon Richardson coming over from the Jets would put the Seahawks defensive line over the top. But the Packers looked to hold their own. I mean, they lost two of their, they lost TJ Lang and they lost JC Treader to the Lions and to the Browns. And I really thought that offensive line would struggle. But, I mean, he's doing it with no running game. Ty Montgomery looked pretty good as the running back, but he's a wide receiver. That's where he came into the league. I mean, he should be playing wide receiver. And I think they just looked fantastic.
Yeah.
They beat a powerhouse. They got their season started off right, and I think they might. Actually make it to the Super Bowl this year.
And Mr. Knight, can I add something in there too
Go
about
ahead.
how tough I think Aaron Rodgers is? I mean, he's a tough cat, man. He was hurting toward the end of that game, and he finished that game strong still. You know what I mean? That ankle was hurting him. You seen him limping a little bit. You seen him cringe some, but he never gave up. He's an Iron Man, bro. He's taking after the guy who was before him. You know what I mean? That's for sure.
And can I give you some stats on that Packers defense?
Just real quick.
All right, real quick.
He hates the Packers, by the way.
Well, I can feel a disturbance in the force right now because my wife is really she's hating this.
We got the stress ball.
Well, I mean,
right
the Packers beat the Giants in the wild card. I still have ill will towards them, but you can't help but look at greatness and marvel at it. But they held Russell Wilson, who everybody assumes is going to be the next franchise quarterback in the league. Once
That
these older
O-line
guys,
terrible though.
Yeah.
150 yards
Yeah.
is all Russell Wilson had, and he was their leading rusher
But the Seahawks
with 40
O-line is
yards.
horrible.
Okay, damn it.
They
We're
are.
moving on.
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah,
I've had
they
enough
got
of
a
this.
terrible
All
O-line.
right. No,
Yeah.
There's obviously some teams that did come out with a bang. I'll give you that. Green Bay being one of them. I'm just going to finish it off with that. There's always some that just come out and severely underperform, though.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Who then is the team that just really stunk up the joint last week that could potentially be sounding the alarm this season before it even has a chance to get fully underway? Will, you had mentioned the Arizona Cardinals and them losing David Johnson. Is that the team for you, or is there somebody else?
I got to say, I follow football very closely. It's a passion of mine, obviously.
Yep.
And I turn my attention more to the Giants than anybody. And there are so many alarms going off in my head about that Giants team, man.
And that's big because that's
And
his team.
It is, and I love them, and I love them since Tiki Barber was toting the rock before the 2 Super Bowls. You know, I'll always love them. Once Eli retires and Davis Webb takes over, I'll love him then. But Eli is not. He's a shell of his former self, and he was never elite. And I know that he considered himself an elite quarterback, but who wouldn't? I mean,
Little Peyton, he don't mean.
you know, you're not gonna
Can't spell elite without Eli, though.
you're not gonna go out there and say, I mean, I'm not as good as these guys, but I'm okay.
Say that to Little Peyton face.
And he has always been overshadowed by Peyton, depending on how you look at it. Some people say that people hold him in higher regard because his last name is Manning. Some people say he's overshadowed by Peyton. Neither here nor there. I just think that as a 36-year-old quarterback who's never been mobile ever in his career, he's just been a pocket passer, to have Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, Rhett Ellison, who I thought was a better pickup than Brandon Marshall for the Giants this offseason. It's just sad to see them. They got 30 yards in the first half total offense. That offensive line
Is horrible.
is one of the worst that I've ever seen the Giants have. It seems like they are still – I mean, the offensive line when they won the Super Bowls was so good. You had David Deal and Kareem McKenzie and Rich Seibert and, you know, Sean O'Hara. And there wasn't really many holes. There was 3 pro – Chris Snee, my favorite lineman of all time. And there was no holes. It seemed like 3 or 4 of them were always in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
And now you can't – I mean, Justin Pugh and Weston Richburg are okay, but they play center and guard.
Yeah.
It's the name of the game is offensive tackle. And we have 2 of the worst in the league. We have a 7th-round draft pick starting at right tackle who got hurt.
And they always gave Eli time to at least get the ball down the
And
field. Yeah.
in Kevin Gilbride's offense, it was throw the ball down the field. And Ben McAdoo had changed the culture and, you know, want 2-step drop, get the ball out. 2-step drop, get the ball out. And you thought them drafting Sterling Shepard would help that because he's an excellent slot receiver.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall is a target machine. He always has been. He didn't have a catch.
Well, a quick passing game like what you're talking about, you know, 2-step drop, get it out, boom. That is a really good mask for an
weak
inadequate
O-line.
offensive line.
Weak
But
O-line, yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, any corner that's respectable, any corner that's worth a damn can cover any receiver for 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
Believe it.
So
Believe it.
that's going to allow the offensive line to have to work a little bit of overtime
Right.
to make.
You got to block
You know,
somebody.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand why Orleans Darkwa out of Tulane University is not he's been their best running back for 4 years. The best running back for 4 years, and he still is splitting carries with Paul freaking Perkins. I don't understand it. Ben McAdoo has to fix this offense. It's the reason he got the head coaching job is because he did so good on offense. He needs to fix this, or else it's going to be a long season, And
Give him a chance.
And
Give him a
Eli's
chance.
going to be hurting.
Spoken like a true agonizing New York Giants fan.
In
I'm sure every New Yorker right now has totally feeling your sentiment right now. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. Guys, they are absolutely abysmal without Andrew Luck being in the lineup, and that is putting it extremely diplomatically.
Really
Yeah.
diplomatic.
I mean,
yeah.
the team is poorly built, and they obviously cannot survive with Scott Tolzien under center. It's just not going to happen.
No way. No
Absolutely.
I mean,
not.
Jacoby
Absolutely
Brissett
not.
is going to be starting this week, and I mean, just to show how bad things are, they're starting. Like I said, they're starting Jacoby Brissett, who they just acquired from the New England Patriots in exchange for wide receiver Philip Dorsett, who is an absolute bust. And the only reason the Patriots reached out for him is because they're desperate right now with the injury to Edelman, and Amendola doesn't seem like he's quite right now either.
Right. He hurt too. Yeah.
Exactly. The defense, it couldn't slow down a snail right now. The offense, it can't score on some college teams. They're poorly coached. No disrespect to Chuck Pagano, but
You're a
his
bad
time
coach.
has passed in that city.
You're a bad coach.
There is zero spark within this organization.
suck.
And
They should have
when-
fired him.
Yes,
They should have
even
fired
when
him.
Luck does return.
Cancer keeps you in an organization, doesn't it?
I mean, I got to say, what he did fighting cancer and beating it, that was awesome.
That was great.
But
Total respect for that.
he needs to go and be a coordinator somewhere. I can't even
Yeah.
tell if he's offense or defense because they're both so bad.
yeah, they're terrible.
He was a defensive coordinator for the Ravens prior to coming there to be their head coach.
And having a Ravens defense can mask a lot of problems.
Yes, it can. But even whenever Luck does return, the season may be a lost cause because Houston may be getting ready to rebound with Deshaun Watson at the helm. You saw what he did against Cincinnati. He showed some promise.
He did show promise.
And then there's Tennessee that can probably turn things around. You got Jacksonville, who really showed up in that first week, so they could be at the bottom of the tier before it's all said and done.
I do have a quick bit of information regarding
ahead.
Andrew
Go ahead.
Luck. I was listening to Mike and Mike this week, and Mike Greenberg, Greeny, said that he gets the sense from people that Andrew Luck is tired of Indianapolis. And, it wouldn't make sense on the surface.
Who would say something like that?
It wouldn't make sense on the surface because he just signed a 5-year extension. But if you think about it, they got rid of their old GM. They brought in a new GM, and the new GM has neglected their big off-season acquisition was Jonathan Hankins, who's a nose tackle.
Not Jim Irsay. He wouldn't do nothing like that, would
Yeah, Jim Irsay. That guy gets a lot of credit because Peyton Manning carried him for a long time.
Man, not the great Jim Irsay. I can't believe this.
I'm just going to say this. When it comes to there is like a love triangle that always seems to happen when it comes to a quarterback, a GM, and a head coach. Those always remain synonymous with each other. And when one of them or two of them seem to separate, the other is bound to fall by the wayside. So that's a really, really good point to make. Javon, what do you got, man?
Well, you know what? I cannot believe you guys, man. I can't believe you would talk bad about the great Jim Irsay like that.
He does take a heck of a mugshot photo.
Yeah. You know what? Never mind. I'm going right to it. I'm going right in. Indianapolis, you suck. Yeah, you're doing. I'm happy that you suck. You know what I mean? Guess what? Me and Lil Peyton happy that you suck. You know what I mean? And guess what? That statue that you built in the front of your little Lucas Oil Stadium, tear it down. Now, we don't care. We don't give a damn about that statue. Peyton look.
This is the man that built the stadium,
He built
essentially.
it. He don't care, man. Peyton is doing some commercials right
Yes,
now.
exactly.
He don't care
I'm not
nothing
talking about
your
Javon.
statue.
I'm talking about Peyton.
Yeah, you better believe that, man. I'm glad you suck, right? Because let me tell you what you guys do. You go get a great quarterback and put him on your sucky team, and you say, "Save me, save our team." Peyton came to a team that was 3-10. You know what I mean? And he had to deal with that crap. You know what I mean? Well, actually, I think they were like 2-14. Actually, they were 2-14. I'm sorry, they sucked, right? And then they said, "Peyton Manning, save us." Well, then you go get this talented young man, Andrew Luck, and you put him in the same situation. You say, "Save my team." Well, sorry, man. Sometimes this guy just happened to be extremely out of the ordinary. You cannot get that all the time, man. Andrew Luck is a great quarterback, but he just cannot do it, man. And I don't blame him for being tired.
It's not like
I'll leave too.
It's not like he hasn't tried. The guy played with a lacerated spleen.
Come on, man.
People take 6 months off of work for stuff like that.
Our defense gave him that. You know how hard our defense hit? This poor guy was in pain, and he still kept playing, man. Come on. Indianapolis, you're terrible. I have always, ever since you did that debacle with Peyton, I hate you. And I'm glad that
we're referring, of course, to the Indianapolis Colts,
not
necessarily
not the city,
the state of Indiana or the city of Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis. Yeah, that is a.
Although the Pacers are pretty bad too.
That's a beautiful and clean city, man. I've never seen a city so clean in my life, man.
Devoid of championships.
Peyton got him one. Don't
you are not helping.
Yeah. No, I really am though. On a serious tip, I'm glad the Colts going through this right now, so they can finally make it up in their mind to build a team, not go get a quarterback and ask him to save their franchise. It's about time that you guys build a team. Jim Irsay, get off your dadgum Twitter, get your mind right, and build yourself a team so you quit looking like a fool more than what you already look like. And I seen you on Twitter. Quit showing everybody your saggy breasts.
That's fantastic. I think they should just put Andrew Luck on IR, shoot for a high draft pick, and just fire Pagano and start over. But nobody's going to do that.
And Pagano, you're not
awfully quick on that one.
And by the way, Pagano, you are not a good coach. You're not a Tony Dungy. You're not even what was the
Jim Caldwell?
Caldwell. You're not even a Caldwell, and that's sad, bro. Caldwell is not really all that good of a coach.
But he's sticking around.
No offense, but
he's sticking around.
He's not all that good.
He sticks around, man. Caldwell, he's sneaky. He's sneaky. Somehow he just keeps on coaching.
All right, I got that off
and
my
his
chest.
team keeps on hanging in.
Are you feeling better? Do you need the stress ball again?
Oh no, I'm not done yet because we got more show to go, baby.
Okay, great.
Javon came in firing on all cylinders today.
No doubt.
Wow, yeah.
Javon Miller, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
You only can contain him, baby.
Thank you for that, Dan Patrick. This may be coming right out of right field a little bit, but last week, we introduced college football for the very first time, and today I think we should talk a little bit about baseball.
My favorite sport.
Cleveland Indians. They managed to embark on a streak that had not been seen since 1935.
Wow.
When the Chicago Cubs won 21 straight games. The streak ended last night at 22 as they lost a close one to the Kansas City Royals 4-3. And while that streak is over, it is worth talking about because of how ridiculously dominating they were during that stretch. Javon, I want to get your take on that first, dude.
Okay, first off, I'm going to let you guys know I'm not a huge baseball fan like my boy Trey Hand over here, but when I seen that streak, I thought it was quite impressive. And then, can I throw something out here and ask you guys who really watch this?
Go ahead.
They did that in 24 days. Is that true?
Yeah. It was
22 wins in 24 days?
Yeah.
Man, I don't care what sport you in, that is extremely impressive, okay? Cleveland fans suck that in, man, because you only get to witness history so many times, right?
Especially history in their favor.
Exactly. I remember where I was when I seen the Bulls do 72-10. I remember where I was when I watched my Broncos set that history offensive terror in 2013, right? Even though they didn't finish with a Super Bowl, that's not what it was all about. It was about watching history in the making, right? So Cleveland, suck it up. Love it. It feels good. Even if, hey, if your team don't win a championship, it don't even matter, man. You got a chance to see that.
Got a question for you, Javon.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you were when Tom Brady and Randy Moss broke the touchdown and receiver touchdowns record?
No, I have no clue where I was.
He loves Tom Brady, by the way.
I probably was drunk somewhere in a sewer, drowning in loathing. But I'm just finna finish this up because he loved to bring Brady up when he wants to get to me. Anyway.
It really stirs up some feelings.
Yeah.
Of jealousy,
whatever.
and whatnot.
The greatest. Okay. Now, let's just get back to what I'm saying. Enjoy history. Last year, your basketball team won the championship. This year, your baseball team set history. Cleveland, you're doing something right. Continue doing it, man. And hey, I'm happy for you guys, and they deserve that standing ovation you gave them when they lost. They deserve that.
No doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, what they did crushing the competition during that 22-game stretch is absolutely ridiculous. They scored 137 runs versus only 34 in those 22 games.
What?
They had more home runs than runs allowed during that stretch. That is absolutely unfathomable. They had 6 shutouts during that streak. That's more than 14 teams have been able to collect all season. That is half of the entire baseball league, national and American. They have all, like I said, they already surpassed the 1935 Cubs with a record of 21 streak, and had they have been able to eclipse the all-time record, which was 26, held by the 1916 New York Giants. Yes, I'm saying that correct. Not the San Francisco Giants, the New York Baseball Giants. 1916, that is a Dalmatian for every single year since then. For those of you not doing the math, that is 101. Now, Will, I want your take on this.
To me, I think that they do have the record. I think the 1916 Giants, if they got to 26, but in the middle of that 26, they had a tie. And back then, they called the 9-inning game, which was a 1-1 tie. They called it in the 9th inning due to darkness because back then they didn't have stadium lights.
Oh.
Where were you?
I was about a few generations away. But
Because you sound like you lived it. So.
but what I'm saying is they had a tie, and back then what they did was they threw out the tie. It didn't count, and they played another game.
Oh, no, that ain't fair right there.
So-
No, sir.
I'm not quite sure what the win total was before. So say it was like 16 games, then a tie. Then they played that game over, a win, and then 10 more wins or to that
Right.
total. And so I think that, obviously baseball was a completely different game. Some would say unrecognizable back then. But I think that they do win the streak because in today's age of home run balls and guys are so strong and so fast, to do that is ridiculous. And I know that they did hit 41 home runs and gave up 35 runs allowed. But you got to say, the pitching is ridiculous, man. You saw it in the playoffs last year. They lost Carlos Carrasco. They lost Josh Tomlin. Or no, who? It was, what was that other guy? Who cut his hand when he was flying his drone. He cut his hand when he was flying the drone and could not pitch. And I cannot
How
remember.
embarrassing would
Trevor
that be to
Bauer.
send that on
That's
the
his
injury
name.
report?
Yes.
Wow.
And they
Wow.
say he's a weird guy, but he cut his hand and couldn't pitch and he started to pitch in the first inning. They stitched it up. His stitches ripped. He was bleeding everywhere. Go look up the video. It's terrible. But
Wow.
they basically had Corey Kluber last year, and they were hoping that their starting pitching would get by, but they have Carrasco, who strikeout to walk ratio is ridiculous. They have Danny Salazar. They have Corey Kluber again, and they did this 22-game win streak with Andrew Miller, their best relief pitcher, on the DL.
Miller.
On the DL. He did not come back until 2 nights ago.
Wow.
So that means that Cody
Wow.
Cody Allen, their closer, and that entire defensive staff were on top of their game. They gave up 35 runs in 22
Clearly.
games. Absolutely. And I think
Wow.
the Indians are going to blow away everybody, and they're going to win the World Series without a doubt. I mean, I don't think the Braves have had 7 shutouts all year. I don't even think they're close.
That's
Indian fans.
saying something.
Hey, Indian fans, y'all have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah. Also,
Beyond the movie.
Thank you for Kyrie Irving. The Celtics really appreciate it.
Ooh. And on that note, let's move on.
I'm just gonna say this, man. I mean, as impressive as Cleveland's streak was, the team that was on the opposite end of that spectrum, the LA Dodgers.
Struggling.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of this month, I mean, they had a
Unstoppable.
challenging, but a very realistic chance at breaking the all-time mark of wins in a single season of 116. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Held by the 2001 Seattle Mariners
Yeah.
and the
A-Rod
1906 Chicago Cubs. However, I mean, they really wrecked their opportunity to break the record. How is it that the Dodgers wound up dodging history? Will, give me your take on this first, dude.
I am not as worried about the Dodgers as most people. I'm kind of glad. And watching the Dodgers in recent years in the playoffs, they do really good during the regular season, and they get into the playoffs and they collapse. They collapse. They've done it year in and year out. They haven't won a World Series since 1988.
Like
before.
Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes.
I got you.
Yes,
Yeah,
there
that's
you
real.
go.
That's real.
And so I'm glad that they weren't distracted with, and I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I do work with a diehard Dodgers fan, TW Star, giving you some love. But I really think that them not focused on the record is better for them in the long term. Now, they do need to figure out why they can't get a win. But they did beat the Nationals last night 7-0. That's it's a good step in the right direction. But I heard an interview saying that it's the mentality that is starting to sink in that worries people, not so much the losing streak. Because, I mean, they're still competing for first place. They had such a huge lead on the number one seed that even during the midst of this losing streak, they still could lock up number one seed and have home field advantage, which is huge in baseball.
Wow.
But I think, personally, as a Braves fan, I'm really glad to see Alex Wood struggle because he was a Braves pitcher that they brought through their farm system and traded for a 30-year-old rookie who ended up getting cut for domestic violence. So, really glad that Alex Wood is struggling. Now,
White beating going on these days, man. What the?
Yeah, it's that money, man. You get
Word
money.
of advice to
Jeez.
all people and all athletes in general. I probably should have flipped that around, but anyway, keep your hands off other women unless it's loving. Please, I mean,
Eat a cookie and watch football, man.
Yeah.
eat a cookie.
If you get
eat
mad-
a
A
cookie.
you
cookie
get mad-
always makes me happy.
Exactly. If you get mad, just make fun of Tom Brady haters. You know, that's what I do.
Or Tom Brady lovers.
And then I make fun of Tom Brady a lot, even though I really can't.
Anyway, I'm pitching it right back to you again. So
I just really think that, the Dodgers, I think, turn their sights to the playoffs. They're trying to get their bullpen in line. I mean, they have a hell of a pitching staff. They got Kershaw, who is the best pitcher in baseball by a lot. The guy is surgical. He's ridiculous. If he can stay healthy, there's nobody who can stop him. And he's been like that for years. And, I mean, in baseball, it's all about repetition. And people watch film on you and know what you're going to do. And to still blow people away when they know what's coming, that's the sign of a great pitcher. And so, and I think Alex Wood is good. Rich Hill is a really good pitcher, older, really good pitcher, though. And they have the young guy, Kenta Maeda, who's their big free agent signing a couple years ago out of, I think, China or Japan, one of the two. I can't remember. And but I think they're still going to go to the World Series. I think the only really real competition they have is not the Chicago Cubs. It's the Nationals, because the Nationals are made to win. Their pitching staff, they have Scherzer and Strasburg, who are two of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball. Hopefully, the Nationals get embarrassed every game they play the rest of the year, because I hate them I hate them worse than the Cowboys. I hope Bryce Harper.
that's some heavy animosity.
I hope Bryce Harper gets no love from free agency, because he's asking for a $400 million contract. I don't know if you know that, but he's asking for $400 million to a guy who is a complete tool.
A lot of money.
He's a complete tool. I hate him so much.
That's not going to work.
God, I hate him.
I'm just going to say, we were talking about their streak and everything, and them having a chance to break that record for most wins in a single season. Guys, following that 11-game losing streak that they just had, it is now mathematically impossible for them to eclipse that record based on the number of games that are left. That being said, I mean, they are still a threat to win the World Series. The thing about it is they do have that history of
Choking.
choking, falling apart when all the chips are down. I do feel like it could be in the National League Championship that it could be the Cubs and the Dodgers. That seems very, very realistic to me. And of course, on the American League side, it's hard to imagine, at least right now, for it to be the Indians and I would say the Astros, who have in the last couple of years made a heck of an amazing resurgence. Because I mean, they were
bad.
They were bottom feeding.
They were bad.
I mean, and now I mean they're contending.
They are.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Javon, what do you have to add on this?
Well, I'll tell you what I got to add on this, man. So I remember I got this Sports Illustrated magazine, and it had, it had the Dodgers on the front of it, and he had the guy sitting down. He was getting Gatorade poured over the top of him, and they were screaming. They was like, "Oh, the Dodgers are gonna do this historical thing, man. It looks great. They're gonna be awesome. They might be the greatest team ever." And then I took that magazine and I threw it in the recycle bin, kind of like how they've taken this streak and this whole idea of them making history and threw it in the recycle bin.
I love referencing stories like that. That's so great.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's over. I don't think they're gonna be able to do it. Life, especially we all know about sports. Sports is about momentum. It's about who has the momentum and who has the momentum going forward. And right now they have lost that momentum. Unless they can get it back, they will not be able to set history, man. It's kind of it's over with, man. You're getting recycled right now, guys. They're going to be a team that's going to come along and they're
blue team in the blue bin.
Yeah, blue team in the blue bin. Now it will be a team that doesn't choke quite like the Dodgers. That's going to come along and break that record one day, but it won't be the Dodgers, man. We, like you guys said, man. They're quick to choke, and when you're a choke artist, hey, that's what happened to you, man. You miss your chance of history.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that kind of covers us for baseball right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to say, I mean, we're on our 4th episode, and there's a very specific issue that has been going on through the NFL for the better part of a year. I think it's time that we finally let the cat out of the bag, or maybe more appropriately, the cap out of the bag.
I've been begging for this one.
Yes. Guys, is Colin Kaepernick going to be signed by anyone this season? Javon, this is a very, very touchy subject for you. Let me know what your thoughts are on this entire situation, bro.
All right. Check this out.
The glass is coming off.
They're coming off for this one. I'm not finna sit here and take a long, long time to say what I got to say. I'm finna go ahead and spit out what I have to say real quick. First, you got to eliminate excuses. First off, I don't want to sit here and listen to there's no teams out there that needs a quarterback. We're looking at that debacle in the Colts right now. We're looking at what's going on over in Houston. We're looking at what's possibly going on over there in with the Cardinals. Hell, Washington may need a quarterback at some point here soon. So I don't want to hear that.
Jets.
Yeah, the Jets. I mean, come on, man. And I don't want to hear anything about them not wanting to pay his salary, bro. As of right now, Andrew Luck is the highest paid quarterback that's sitting on the sideline at the moment, man. So I don't want to hear nothing about this money. You got quarterbacks getting $27 million a year, and you can't pay cap what $14 million? That's what they owe, man. Come on, man. Who you have the cap space? It's out there right now. Indianapolis definitely has the cap space, and I know for sure. The Texans maybe? I'm not sure, but I'm sure that it's not all that bad. So let's get rid of those excuses. A man stands up for himself. He sits down. He says, hey, I don't believe in something. You have a right to do that. Most players are college-educated people. They're not dumb football players, man. These guys have education. They have their own thoughts. They have their own feeling. And just because they're being paid by this plantation called the NFL, they still should have the right to say what they feel and do what they feel and still have the right to play in this NFL league. When you start pushing them out now, you start pushing toward a system of America that we've been trying to get past. This system of, America is always right and the people are wrong if you go against what America say. That's not the way it's supposed to be. We are the people. That's what they say. That's what they tell us. And we should be able to say what we want to say. That's in them, that's in the Constitution, is it not?
It is.
We should have a voice, shouldn't we? It really bothers me. And I'm gonna tell you like this here. If it wasn't for Todd Knight asking me to do his show, I would be boycotting the NFL. I was going to. And Todd said, look, I'm putting together a show and I need your personality. I need you to come and help me with this show. And I said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to cut my boycott. And I'm going to do this for this man right here. So just to let you know, NFL, the reason why I'm still even watching you at the moment is because of this man right here. Because what you're doing is wrong. It's wrong. He's not the first athlete to get done this way because he went against what America feel you should do. Muhammad Ali got 3 years taken off of his prime because he didn't want to go fight a war that he didn't believe in.
Which you harped on in the second episode that we did.
Absolutely, which I was ready to go into cap then, but I saved it because we needed time. You know what I mean? But I'm done. I don't want to make it about race. I just want to make it about one player speaking his mind, saying that he feel like America isn't fighting for him, so he don't feel like he want to stand up and put it over his heart right now. And he said it. He said when he feel like America is taking up for him, he'll stand back up and he'll say the national anthem with pride. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Well said. Yeah. Well said. Will, what do you got?
I think Colin Kaepernick is, if he was still that quarterback that took them to the Super Bowl, it wouldn't be any problems. He'd get signed. You see Michael Bennett. You see Marshawn Lynch. You see all these guys that are employed, gainfully employed, signing big contracts. They sit, they stand, or they kneel, no matter what. If they can play, they're gonna get a paycheck. I think that Colin Kaepernick, with that said, Colin Kaepernick is better than – he's a top 40 quarterback.
Yes.
By far. You see and like you said, what's going on in Indianapolis?
Yeah.
Scott Tolzien. Jacoby Brissett was the number 3 quarterback behind Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. If Kaepernick,
and now he's expected to salvage the season.
If the Colts signed Colin Kaepernick, he would start until Andrew Luck came back.
Yes, indeed.
If the Jacksonville Jaguars signed Colin Kaepernick, he would start
the
entire rest of the year.
The owner of the Jaguars has said that if the coaching staff for Jacksonville wanted to pick up Kaepernick, he would support it.
And the only thing that I think I think Jacksonville is the best fit for him.
And he would be perfect, yeah.
But Tom Coughlin has said that he doesn't want the distractions. And I think personally that he wouldn't be a distraction to teammates, but there would be a lot of outside noise. And I do believe that the owners are making a statement.
They don't want you to stand up for anything.
Right. They don't want you to go against the grain, And I really... And it really sucks because the 32 owners aren't going anywhere. They're billionaires.
Yeah.
They own their teams, and this is a
kind of like slavery, huh?
This is a private business.
Plantations.
Right. And this is a private business. And so if they want to kick somebody out, they have no legal bound. Like they don't have to let them play. And that's what sucks. And I mean, and Americans take so much pride in their football teams, and this is really sad that a guy who stood up for what he believed in, right, whether you agree with the way he did it or not, it's his right. And people that have the right to say that they don't like how he did it or that they don't feel that he did it the correct way, well, that's their right. Both of them, no way is wrong. It's just if you would do it that way or if you wouldn't. And so I think Kaepernick deserves to be on a team. I think this is a bad look on the NFL, and I think he'll get signed. I really hope he gets signed. I think that'll be really good for the NFL as far as painting the owners in a better light because they're the bad guys in every aspect.
Yes.
I mean, because the owners have dropped Roger Goodell works for the owners. He's dropped the ball on domestic violence. The NFL and the NFLPA are as far apart as they ever have been. They're threatening to strike in 2021, and now you have this. I mean, it's just not a good look. I mean, this is the most powerful business in America, arguably. This is the most profitable sport by a lot.
It is.
And so I think it's a bad look. I think Colin Kaepernick is not a bad person. I didn't like him as a player, but that didn't have anything to do with his political stance. I just hated him at Nevada when he beat the crap out of Tech. But I really think that this needs to resolve itself, and I personally think that the Jets, the Jaguars, the Colts, the Cardinals might go with him. I mean, Drew Stanton's not as good as Colin Kaepernick. I mean, shit, the 49ers don't have as good of a quarterback as they had in Kaepernick. So that's all I'm going to say, but
Yeah.
I think this situation needs to resolve itself.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick a little bit more on the football aspect of this part. He can help a team right now. The Jets, Colts come to mind. I mean, there's a litany of teams that could use an improvement at the quarterback position. The issue seems to be that they're the owners, and yeah, they are kind of the bad guy in this entire situation. They're terrified of it being a public relations nightmare in signing Colin Kaepernick. Right or wrong, that's the reality of it. Coaches are fearful of a divided locker room with the social opinions that come with Colin. They're afraid of losing control of the locker room because of that. I mean, I'm just saying what I'm thinking on the situation.
You're absolutely right, but it mirrors something that happened in history a long time ago, actually.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the right situation with a strong locker room, and if he's utilized correctly, he could have success. The problem is a team that has a strong locker room typically already has a quarterback that would be starting over him. He has been very silent of late. Mm-hmm. It's kind of that calm before any storm that takes place. Yeah. But he does need to kind of sit aside the pride right now and try to audition for a quarterback needy team. Because as of right now, his phone's on silent, just like he is. Yeah. I mean, there is so much to cover in so little time, especially when you're talking about a subject like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And sadly, that is all the time that we have for today. Mm-hmm. But thank all of you for joining us here at Sports at Night. Real fans, real talk. Be sure to like our Facebook page. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Woo! Again, I am your host, Todd Knight, on behalf of Javon Superman Miller, Will Michael Strahan, and the entire Sports at Night crew. Have an awesome night, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah!